Well, now that you've had a little bit of practice pausing, let's take a look at some of the rules to determine where you can put the pauses. For some, thought groups comes quite naturally, but we have some clues or some tips to help us determine where they ought to be. This can be grammar or punctuation. Let's take a look at some of these grammar clues. The first thing that will help us determine thought groups is noun phrases. When we talk about something, it's usually one idea. And this includes the article as well as the adjectives. For example, the blue box, or my new computer, or this black pen. We generally keep those things together. So all the articles, adjectives, and nouns, generally we want to put them together and not break it in between. It'd be very strange if we did. I have a brand new computer. It's kind of awkward, right? I have what? A brand new computer. It's one idea. So let's take a look at the sentence here. 34 international LEAP students were the sole participants of this complicated research study. It's quite a lot of words there. You might want to break it up. So how would we break this up? Well, the first thing is look at the noun phrases. What are we talking about? What's the subject? Well, 34 international LEAP students. That's our idea. So we probably want to keep all those together, okay? That'll be one big thought idea, one big thought group. Well, what were they doing? They were the sole participants. Of what? Of this complicated research study. Okay? So that's one way you could divide up the groups. 34 international LEAP students, pause, were the sole participants, pause, of this complicated research study. Okay? So you can read it again with me, and just make sure you breathe at these breaks, but also that you don't pause anywhere else. Okay, let's try it together. 34 international LEAP students were the sole participants of this complicated research study. Okay, good. So again, two things you have to keep in mind. One is pause there, but also don't pause anywhere in between, okay? That's what makes it confusing. 34 international LEAP students were the sole participants. So make sure you don't pause anywhere else, okay? The other time grammar helps us is when we look at verbs, okay? Actions. The verbs, adverbs, auxiliary verbs for different tenses, we tend to keep all that together. And sometimes if it's not too long, we'll put the verb and object together as well. So here's an example. At the presentation, there's my first idea, when. What did he do? He vigorously presented the research findings, okay? Now we could divide this up a couple ways. We could make this one big thought group. What did he do? He vigorously presented the research findings. We got the verb and the object. But we could also break it up maybe in the middle. What did he do? He vigorously presented. Presented what? The research findings. So we could break it up into a verb phrase and then a noun phrase. Now this is really important because when it comes to thought groups, there really isn't one correct answer. Just like eating a hamburger, you can't go up to someone and say, hey, your bite was too big or your bite was too small. That's crazy, right? It's up to you. Same thing for thought groups. Maybe you want to break things up into smaller chunks. At the presentation, he vigorously presented the research findings. But maybe you want to have bigger chunks of information and you would pause at different places. Like you would, sorry, not different places, but you wouldn't break it up as small. At the presentation, he vigorously presented the research findings. Okay. So again, you could pause here and you might not. It's up to you. There's not one right or wrong way to do it. Which had been published in last year's journal. So our main verb is published. Which had been, those are all auxiliary verbs. So we want to keep that all together. Which had been published, where? In last year's journal. Okay. So this is how we could mark the thought groups. Let's practice again. I'll say it and then you say it after me and just take a deep breath afterwards. Okay. So here we go. At the presentation, he vigorously presented the research findings which have been published in last year's journal. Okay, very good. Another place that helps you determine where the pauses are prepositional phrases and clauses. Again, a prepositional phrase by definition is just one idea. Clauses, these are ideas as well. So things like times, locations, prepositional phrases, these are usually an intact idea. So let's take a look at the sentence. Oh, this is a long one. Because of its popularity and because of its prominence, social media is likely here to stay, even if there is evidence that it causes harm to the younger generation. Okay, this is definitely like a big burger. We definitely got to chop these up into smaller pieces. So the first idea is because of its popularity. That's telling me the reason. Okay, because of that, and we got a new idea, because of its prominence, there's a second idea. Social media is likely here to stay. That's what's going to happen. And then we have additional information. Even if what? Even if there's evidence, pause, what kind of evidence? That it causes harm to who? To the younger generation. Okay, so this is one way you can break it up. Again, if you want to speak faster, have bigger chunks, you can get rid of some of these pauses. So again, let's try reading this together, okay? So read it and then take a deep breath at the pause. Because of its popularity and because of its prominence, social media is likely here to stay, even if there is evidence that it causes harm to the younger generation. All right? So those are some clues that can help you, grammatical clues. The other thing you might notice is, especially in this last one, when there's commas. Now, I think I took the commas away. So often when you see commas and periods, those are also clues as to where you pause. So another way you can think about it is wherever you put a comma, okay, that would also be some place where you'd pause. So let's give you a little bit of practice. I've given you 5 sentences here. And I think, yes, I did remove all the punctuation because I didn't want to give you too many clues, okay? And what I want you to do is read through the sentence and decide if you had to break this up into smaller chunks, where would you break it up, okay? Again, mark everything with a slash and go ahead. Okay, so these are some thought groups that I chose. And again, yours might be different from mine. That's totally fine. But these are ones that I thought would be, that I would use. So I'll read each one of these phrases and you can listen along, see if you agree. So number 1, my name is John and I'll be giving the presentation today. Now this one you could probably break down into smaller groups. My name is John and I'll be giving the presentation today. So you could break that up even more. Number 2, our main topic is about the effects of global warming on today's society. Again, if we break it up even smaller, our main topic is about the effects of global warming on today's society. Number 3, children in schools, especially in elementary schools, should be learning how to be creative, as well as how to develop their critical thinking skills. Number 4, the effects of this newly released drugs are not clearly understood by the general public or by the scientific community, according to research. Number 5, in conclusion, we shouldn't be allowing this project to continue, even though there are still questions about what the government's involvement should be. All right? So again, yours might differ a little bit from mine. That's totally fine, as long as you find it in a natural place, okay? So why don't you pause the video and practice reading them, breathing at the pauses, or at least stopping your voice for a bit. And you can either use my thought groups, or if you disagree and you have different ones, you can use yours. Go ahead.